Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF Hayemi KIDDUSHIN DAF Mem Beis. We are holding on Mem Aleph Amid Beis, 4 lines off the bottom of the Yom Hanicha. In yesterday's DAF we explored the topic of shalichus. How do we know that that a person can appoint a shaliach, an emissary, to represent him in certain matters? We have several sources. One is KIDDUSHIN, one is Teruma, and then we had a pasuk by KIDDUSHIN. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler tells us, how do we know shluchai shalad b'kamoisai? When you send somebody to do something for you, it is as though you yourself have done that. The pasuk says, "V'shachtu oisai kol kahal das Yisrael." Everybody's involved in the shechita of the Korban Pesach. Question: is everybody practically doing a shechita? No. It just means that whoever does it is really representing the owner or the group that owns the Korban Pesach. So that's how we know the concept of a shaliach when it comes to KIDDUSHIN, when it comes to Korbanos. Says the Gemara 4 lines from the bottom of the Yom Hanicha. This all works well. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, according to him, that in fact the pasuk tells us that a shaliach can do for you with respect to Korbanos. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, who uses this pasuk, this very same pasuk, for something else, it's coming for another halacha. If that's the case, it's unavailable to teach us the concept of a shliach by Korbanos minolan. So how do we know this fact as well? This is not the Sanya. We have a brayser, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer. V'nayin shekol Yisrael kulam yotzim bepesach echad. How do we know that? Technically, all of Klal Yisrael, the entire nation, can share one Korban Pesach. Rashi says, the Chiddush is, Sha'af al pi, up on top, Sha'af al pi she'em b'y kizayis l'chol echad. Although, if all of Klal Yisrael joins into one Korban Pesach, there isn't really enough to go around. There isn't going to be a kizayis per person. It doesn't matter. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the kasavar achilas pesachim le'ma'akva, it's not critical, it's not crucial for there to be enough for each person to eat. That's not really critical. To be Mekayim the mitzvah, as long as you have the korban brought on your behalf. The zrika, the dam, that's the main thing. How do we know this? Continues the Gemara Shenemar. We have a pasuk which describes all of Klal Yisrael joining into one Korban Pesach. V'shachtu oisei kol kahal das Yisrael ben arbaim. Question: literally, everybody's involved in the shechita. It's typically only one person doing the shechita. We learn from here that all of Yisrael can share one Pesach. Shekol Yisrael yotzim b'Pesach echad. And if that's the point of this pasuk, it's unavailable for shliach b'kodshim minolan. How do we know that? How do we know that you can appoint somebody to do the shechita for you? Shechita b'kodshim minolan. Says the Gemara, well, the actual pasuk is indicating as such. We learn basically both things from the same pasuk. That all can join one korban. Then the fact is there's only one shochet for everybody. So you learn both ideas. You don't need a kazayis per person, and they don't all literally have to be involved in the shechita. One can be appointed as a shliach. So it's all from the same pasuk. Says the Gemara, "V'dil mashani hasam, t'islei shutfas b'gavayu." Perhaps you can do a shechita for somebody else, but in this case, it's not for somebody else. Maybe here it's different. They're all partners. They're all sharing this korban. So we have 10 people, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, all owning a Korban Pesach. So perhaps in this case, Reuben can do the shechita for Shimon, Levi because he has a connection to it. But suppose a person who's totally removed from the fact, who says he can do something for me? Elamei hach. Oh, so we have another pasuk. V'yikholahem ish selabes avay selabayis. That one person go to the marketplace, go to the farm, pick up an animal on behalf of his whole family. So we see that you can do a maaseh, you can do a shlichus for somebody else. Well, the same question here. V'dil mahasam nami. Maybe there as well, it's very different. He has an advantage. Because once again, this fellow is also taking part in the process. So when it's relevant to you, perhaps you can do it, and do it even for somebody else in your group, because once again, you're connected to it. But otherwise, if you're totally removed from this process, who says you can represent somebody else? Who said you can make a shliach? Well, says the Gemara in Cain, because if that were so, that shlichus by kachim is only limited to this type of circumstance, trei kroi lamali, why would you need two psukim? The pasuk v'shachtu oise and the pasuk v'ikcholem ish, if they're both basically heading in the same direction. Shlichus is only when you have relevance, so it's a repetition. So so if the extra pasuk is not necessary for a situation where you have relevance, so use it for a case where you're disconnected and still you can do shalichus. Asks the Gemara, so you're basing it on the fact that there are two psukim. One is for this, one's for that. But actually, one of those psukim are needed. V'akati, says the Gemara. Hai mi boile, to Rabbi Yitzchak. The pasuk v'yikcholem ish is needed for Rabbi Yitzchak's halacha. Dam Rabbi Yitzchak ish zoiche v'lo hakatan zoiche. The pasuk is telling you that only an adult, an ish, can, purchase something on behalf of the entire group. A katan can't do that. So the pasuk is actually coming to teach us a new lesson, a new halacha. It's not an extra pasuk. Well, ahu meish lefi achlei nafka. Says the Gemara, the pasuk the halacha, that only a gadol can be zoiche and not a katan. That's learned from the other pasuk ish lefi achlei. The fact that it says ish, come and tell you that halacha. Says the Gemara, but that pasuk ish lefi achlei is needed for something else. The sheichten es ha-pesach ala yochid. It's coming to tell you that you can make a korban pesach even for one person. You don't need to have a collective group. Even one person could have his own korban pesach, which is actually a discussion in Maseches Pesachim. So bottom line, the pasuk ish lefi achlei is teaching us that even one person can be a sole owner. And if that's the case, then the previous pasuk v'yikcholem ish is needed to teach you that a katan can't be a shliach. He can't do something on behalf of others. And that being the case, we're only left with one pasuk, the pasuk on top of the oven. V'shachtu oisei kol kahal das Yisrael ben arbaim. And we need two psukim, right? We need the one pasuk that a shliach can do on behalf of others when he's involved with them, when he's part of the process, and another pasuk when he's uninvolved. Right? We need two psukim. We don't have two psukim because the other psukim are needed for their respective halachas. Answers the Gemara, actually, we don't need it for the other halacha. Why? Because you're asking a kasha. You're telling me, well, ish lefi achlei is needed to tell you that a yachid can own a korban pesach. Well, this shita now is going with the opinion that you can't even do that. Savarli, Kamad Amar, ein sheichten sapesach ala yachid. We're going with the shita that you may not bring a korban pesach for a yachid, and that's a discussion in Maseches Pesachim. We learn it from a pasuk. So that being the case, the pasuk ish lefi achlei is not coming to teach us that if it's not applicable. So bottom line is, the pasuk ish lefi achlei can teach us that a katan is not able to be a shliach, and that leaves us with two psukim, which are available to teach us the halacha of a shliach, the concept of shlichus by karbanis. One in a situation where he's involved, the shliach is part of the process, and one even when he's not involved, he's totally a stranger to the process, but he can represent them in the process. Okay, so bottom line is, we have proper sources for the concept of shlichus all over: DAF, KIDDUSHIN, Truma, and karbanis. Continues the Gemara. I have a kasha. Ve'elaha the Amar of Gidla Marav. We have a halacha from Gidla Marav. Menayin sheshlucha shlalom k'maisei. How do we know that a shliach can represent his sender? Shanamar, we have another pasuk in Bamidbar. V'nasi echad mimate. So how do they divide Eretz Yisrael? Is going to be one nasi, one leader representing every shevet. So he's serving the capacity of a shliach. So we see that a shliach can do things for you. Question is, why do we need a new source? We already have plenty of sources. Typically, shlichus mihacha. Let him learn shlichus from kachim and gerushin, etc. Asks the Gemara, well, inevitably he's not speaking about your standard shlichus process. You know why? It can't be. There were many minors, many ketanim involved in this territorial division. And a katan can't appoint a shliach, just like he can't serve as a shliach for somebody else. He can't appoint a shliach for himself. So in any case, this process wouldn't work if it was dependent upon the process of shlichus. But Tisbra, how can you suggest as such the shlichus that was speaking about a shlichus process? The ketanim lavnei shlichus ninu was speaking about ketanim who can't appoint a shliach. So apparently, we're not speaking. We're not coming to prove the concept of a shliach. Eloki ha the Rava barafuna. We're coming to bring out a new point. There's a new chiddush that was inherent in this process of chalukas haaretz, dividing the territory in Eretz Yisrael. Kihad Amar Rabba barafuna. The Amar Rav Kihad Rabba barafuna. The Amar Rabba barafun Amarav Gidla Marav. Menayin shezachen laadam shlei b'fanav. How do we know that you can do something to benefit somebody else, even if he didn't ask you to do so? It's a totally new twist on the concept of shlichus. Shlichus typically involves appointing, asking, giving one a job to do for you. But here we're just initiating something on behalf of somebody else because we deem it to be to his benefit. Can you do that? Yeah. We find it in the concept of chalukas haaretz. Shnema v'nasi echad, right? They went ahead and they divided the land on behalf of everybody. Now Rashi points out that amongst the crowd were ketanim, and ketanim, it's always considered shalei b'fanav. Shalei b'fanav doesn't literally mean when he's not around. It means without his consent. Whether it's an adult who's not around or a katan who, although is present, but he's not a party to the process, right? He doesn't have the das to understand, to consent, right? That's called shalei b'fanav, and you can do that. They went ahead and they did the chalukas, or there was zeicha in Eretz Yisrael on behalf of the ketanim. So we see that zach and adam shalei b'fanav. So this is a totally new dimension to shlichus. And that's why we need a new pasuk. Asks the Gemara, 1 second, you're learning from chalukas haaretz that you can be zoicha for a person shlei b'fanav, but tisbra. How can you say that? Zuchusi? Why are you considering this as chus? Who said you're doing him a favor? Perhaps it's actually to his detriment. Who says he wants this piece of land? Some people like mountainous territory and not something in the valley. Some people are the opposite. They want something down in the valley, not in the mountain. So how could you interpret this process as being one of zachin la'adam shlei b'fanav? Who says it's even a schus? Says the Gemara, you're right. Actually, sometimes it's not a schus and still it works. Because of the power of the authorities of the Bezdin, who can allot and allocate territory despite the fact that perhaps, in some situations, it's not 100% to your benefit, because it's part of the process which had to be done. We find the similar halacha by Yisaimim, right? They're coming to divide their father's territory. So Bezdin could appoint an administrator to go ahead and look after their interests and to even act it in their detriment, and certainly to their benefit. What does this mean? What do you mean? Lochov. Amai. Why are you letting them harm the orphans? Elo, it just means like this. Lochov amanas liskei. Let's say they have to, the administrators have to deal with some litigation issues, so they can actually go to court and the Bezdin and deal with it with a plan to win the case, liskei, even though ultimately they may have lost the case. Lochov amanas liskei, as long as the kavanah was to help them. So bottom line is, we see from here that even though ultimately it's not to their benefit, but the Bezdin can appoint a shliach, an administrator, to look after their interests. And that is learned from the din of the Nasim who divided Eretz Yisrael on behalf of everybody. So we see that the authorities have the ability to run a process, even though ultimately, in some cases, it might not be 100% to your benefit, because it's part of the collective process which needs to be done. So actually, the Gemara explains to us now that Rav Huna was teaching us that from the halacha of Nasi Echad, Mechalukos HaAretz, we see basically two concepts. You can be Zoichel L'Adam Shlei B'fanav, but even in a case where it's not 100% a Zechus, because perhaps he wasn't happy with his territory, doesn't matter, you can do that, even if it's Shlei B'fanav, such as in this case where it was on behalf of the Ketanim. So this is a whole totally new dimension, which is, I guess, loosely related to Shlichus, but a new pasuk, a new source is necessary for this idea. Okay, on the concept of, on the topic of dividing on behalf of the Yisaimim, here comes another halach. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel. Yisaimim shabo lachlik. Nichsi. So once again we have Yisaimim coming to divide their father's inheritance. Bezdin, Mamidlan Apotropos, so we appoint an administrator, Ubaril Mehem Chelek Yafeh, who's going to, look out for the children and make sure each kid gets, the best that he can get. Now, let's say they grow up and they're unhappy with their allotment. They can turn around and protest. This is not what we needed. We should have the other field. Perhaps, it's better for me. Whatever, you can do that. So that's the first shita. For Rav Nachman, Rav Nachman, who quoted Shmuel, that the Yisaimim can get up and reject the allocation, he himself disagrees. No, of course not. Even when they grow up, they can't reject the arrangement. You know why? It was done through Bezdin. Otherwise, you're negating the power of the authorities. What power does Bezdin have if a person could just come next day and undo their process? Okay. Asks the Gemara, really? Rav Nachman subscribes to this opinion? That Bezdin's decisions are final and absolute? Umi Islil Rav Nachman Imkain my Bezdin Yafa. Really? But not. Listen to this Mishnah. Where Rav Nachman himself seems to say otherwise. Shema Dayanim. So this is involving a fellow who borrowed money, couldn't pay back. The Bezdin came and appraised his assets in order to repay the creditor. So the Shum, the appraiser, was a bit off. Shapich Soshtos. Suppose they were off about a sixth. Okay, so they undervalued his properties by a sixth. Or they inflated the value by the amount of a sixth. Michram Batal, so when they sold off his assets, they mistakenly took too much or took too little as payment. We say it's Batal, the process is nullified. Rabban Shimon Gamliel, no, Michram Kayim, what they did stands. You know why? Imkain ma koyach Bezdin Yafa. Otherwise, you're negating the power of the authorities. Bezdin carried through the process, even though there was some sort of slight error or significant error, we let it stand. And how do we pass? What's the halacha? V'amar Rav Huna, Barchinan, Amar Rav Nachman, the same shita, halacha, k'divrei chachamim. The sale gets cancelled. What do you mean? What happened to Makoyach Bezdin Yafa, which Rav Nachman a minute ago subscribed to? Like Kasha, the answer is like this. It all depends. Hadato. In this Mishnah, where they committed an error regarding the appraisal, there was a mistake. So it makes sense that we can cancel the deal. Hadalaito, but in the case of the Yisaimim, whose territory was allocated by the apotropos, who was appointed by Bezdin, there was no mistake whatsoever. So they can't just protest. They have to accept it as fact. Says the Gemara, well, if there's no mistake committed, so what's anybody complaining about? They're complaining about the location, basically. Rashi explains. This fellow is saying, look, I owned the neighboring field. You should have given me the plot next to it instead of on the other side, which makes it more difficult and cumbersome for me. So that's their argument. But still, Rav Nachman says it's a fait accompli. Amar Rav Nachman, on the topic of dividing inheritance, we have another halacha, ha'ach and shechak. So two brothers divided their father's territory, harihin kilekuchais, they're considered like buyers, like they bought from each other. So, they appraised the territory and they divided it, but it turns out that there's some sort of error or mistake committed regarding the appraisals and division. We consider it like lekuchais, and we apply the same formula we apply by a buyer and a seller. And there are 3 levels to that. Let's say it was just a minor mistake, pachos mishtus, less than a sixth off in the appraisal. Nikne mekach, the sale stands. No refund, no cancellation, because it's within reasonable, territory. Yasser ashtos, but if it's more than a sixth off, batal mekach, the deal is cancelled. They can redo the whole division. Shtus, what if it's exactly a sixth? Then it's somewhere in between. Kana, the sale will stand, but he gets a refund. Umachzir, no, he gets back the extra that he paid. Amar Rava, ha damar pachas mishtus nikna mekach. So Rava comes and explains the halach. If it's merely off by less than a sixth, we say, it just stands, no cancellation, no refund. Lo yamar, that's only applicable elad le'shavi shliach. This division, this chalukah, was not done through a shliach. They did it personally. So we say it stands. Aval shavi shliach. But let's say he appointed a shliach to make this arrangement. Then, even if it's a minor mistake, he can cancel the deal. You know why? Omar, he'll tell him, look, Litkuni, shadartich, I sent you to help me out. V'lei lavusi, not to mess me up. So any sort of mess up justifies a cancellation of the whole arrangement. Another aspect of the halacha, says Rava. When we say that if it's off by more than a sixth, the whole deal gets cancelled. It's only applicable when the brothers did not tell each other, did not make the arrangement as follows. We're going to, give our arrangement, we're going to grant our arrangement the status of a Bezdin arrangement. They didn't say that. But if they did say that, said, look, I know we're just plain laymen, but we want to give our arrangement the status of a Bezdin arrangement, in which case it's formalized, it's legalized, and that's it. Michron Kai, in this case, we say that despite the error in appraisal, there's no cancellation. Just like by Bezdin, the Snan, Shemadayanim, right? Shebich stus, Oyashtir stus, Michron Batal. Right? Like we said before, the Bezdin makes a mistake, it's cancelled. But according to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Michron Kayim, even if Bezdin committed some sort of appraisal mistake, it stands, no cancellation. And Rava apparently follows this shita, that Bezdin's arrangement is absolute, and likewise if they mimic Bezdin's arrangement. One more halacha. Because remember, Rav Nachman gave us 3 levels, 3 layers to the halacha. Less than a sixth, and more than a sixth. And Rava has a new twist to each one of those aspects. So we covered 2, now comes a 3rd. When we say that if it's exactly a sixth off, the sale stands, but he has to refund the overpayment. That only applies to belongings. But if, let's say, this mistake applies to karka, so they divided some territory and there was some sort of mistake. We say, look, just like when you buy land, there's no concept of oina. It's learned from a pasuk. Some explain that, a person is willing to pay. It's all about the beholder. It's all about what you're willing to pay. So, bottom line is, when it comes to land and karka property, there's no concept of overpayment. And here as well, in terms of the brothers are divided and mistakenly underestimated the value of the karka, it sticks. But it's only true when it was overvalued or devalued. So basically, it was a value issue. When we say that there's no concept by land, elo de polig biluya, when they divide it based on value and appraisal. But let's say the mistake committed was not related to value, rather to size, to measurements. So he was meant to get 100 feet of and it ended up being 50. Loy, of course, in this case, we don't say no. You get back what you deserve because it's like I get a different item. In value, we can negotiate. We can assume that I'm willing to. Right? There's no concept when it comes to valuing karka, but in terms of the actual size, it's a totally different product. Kedarabba, damarabba, kol davar shebamida, v'shebemishkol v'shebaminion, anything which is sized, which is weighed, which is counted. Afilu pochos mikadeino in amichayzer. So even if it's just a minute discrepancy, even if it's less than a sixth, you can undo the entire deal. So basically, from Rabba we see that if it's a matter of the wrong size or etc., it's a totally different product. This doesn't fall within the confines of Hilchos Oina, which is really a value-based sugya. Here it's just a question of size and the wrong item, the wrong amount. So there, it's unrelated to halacha Oina. And likewise, when it comes to karka, although regular Oina doesn't apply to karka, but this certainly would constitute justification for cancellation of the deal. Continues the Gemara. Back to the halacha of shlichus. Vodesnan, we have a Mishnah. A fellow takes a fire and puts it in the hands of a fellow who's not responsible, deaf, mute, deranged, a cotton, and this fellow goes and wreaks havoc on the neighborhood. Pater medini adam v'chayev medini shemayim. The fellow who gave him the fire is not liable in terms of the ordinary bezdin, but in shemayim, in heaven, he's responsible. Because he was the catalyst for this the damage that was brought about. So he's not actually directly responsible. You can't make him pay down here in this world because I didn't do it. But ultimately Hashem looks after him. Says the Gemara Shilach biat pikeach. But let's say he put the dangerous item in the hands of an adult, a responsible adult, and that fellow wreaks havoc. Pikeach chayiv, that adult, the person who actually did the hezek, has to pay, but not the mishalech, the fellow who appointed him, the fellow who sent him. Why? He's my shliach. What he did is as though I did it. Big difference. When it comes to something positive or neutral, you can use a shliach, but not something negative. You know why? Imagine the teacher tells you to do one thing, and the student sitting there tells you to do otherwise. Who do you listen to? Who do we listen to? Of course, the Rav. It's a mashal to Hashem, who's a Rav, and a person who's like a Talmud. I told you to go burn down the city, but Hashem told you otherwise. You should have listened to him, not to me. So basically, you did it on your own. It was your own decision. You weren't bound by my instructions. You had something, you had a greater authority telling you otherwise. You should have listened to him. Says the Gemara, we do find, in some instances, we do find exceptions to the rule that even by an avera, the mishalech is chayiv. V'adesanya. What about the halacha of mi'ilah? Shliach shliach shlichusai shliach ma'al. So let's say Reuven had some money belonging to Hegdish, right? And he asked a shliach to go spend it for him, right? It was b'shagi. He didn't realize that it was Hegdish. Now, if the shliach carried out his mission properly as per his instructions, then the mishalech Reuven is chayiv. He has to pay back the Hegdish, etc. He is liable to all the halachas of Me'ilah. But shliach shliach shlichusai. But let's say the shliach did not carry out his mission as per instructions. So Reuven asked him to buy A, he bought B. Shliach mal, then the shliach is responsible. Also shlichusai. But if he carried out his mission properly, Bal bayis mal, the owner of the money, the sender, is chayiv. Asks the Gemara, why? You just told me that when it comes to averes, there's no concept of shliach. Ki asr shlichusayd bal bayis miyamal. So if the shliach carried out the instruction of the Baal Bayis, who's responsible? Baal Bayis. Amai, why? Name we should apply the halacha of ein shliach l'var avera. When it comes to an avera, the shliach is on his own. Here's an exception. Sha'anim ila. When it comes to halacha of meila, it's different. The yolfa chet mitruma. We learn it by the way of exera shava using the word chet from truma, and we say just like by truma ma shliach. Just like by truma, shliach works. So you can ask a shliach to do the truma on your behalf, like we learned yesterday. Af meila mashvi shliach. Likewise, the pasuk by highlighting this exera shava is teaching us that when it comes to meila, the liability resulting from diverting mamain of hegdish, it also works through a shliach. And the mishalech, the sender, is responsible, despite it being a dvar avera. Asks the Gemara, okay, so now we have a precedent to the concept of a shliach dvar avera. V'neilaf mino. So let's learn other cases from here, and say every avera has the same, quality, so to speak. You can do it through a shliach, and you're responsible. Answers the Gemara, because actually meila isn't the only place. V'shum dahavi meila v'shlichas yad. We find the concept of a shliach by avera by meila, as we just explained, and also by shlichus yad, when a person was entrusted with an item, right? You deposited your item with your friend, and he was meant to watch it and look after it. He's meant to be a shomer, and he goes and he violates the rules of the agreement. He goes and he uses the item. That's called shlichus yad. He reaches out and he uses the item. In that case, we say he's fully responsible, like a ganav, right? So by meila and shlichus yad, in both we find that even if it's done through a shliach, you are liable, and it's basically a duplication of the same idea. Shnei ksuvim b'am ke'echad. We have two psukim teaching us the same thing, and we know that when we have that duplication, we can no longer learn from there to other places. V'chol shnei ksuvim b'am ke'echad. When we have two psukim teaching us the same exact thing, ein malamdin, they can't serve as a source for others. Otherwise, the Torah would just say it once, and we just extend it and transfer it to everywhere else. The fact that Torah troubles itself to repeat itself once and again is basically telling you here and nowhere else. So we found it by Me'ila, Hadamar, I just had in the pasuk, and the Gzera Shava, and Shlichus Yad Maihi. Where do we find the concept of Shlichus Yad and the Shlichus contained therein? The Sanya, I'll call it Var Pesha. So the pasuk there is describing a Shaleach Yad, the person who used the item that he was given to watch, and the pasuk uses the word Al Kol Dvar Pesha. We have machlokes how to interpret this pasuk. Not only if he actually reached out and touched and used the item, is he responsible for anything that might happen, even an oines, even something which is typically not within his realm of responsibility, even an oines, an accident, right? But once you violated, once you misuse the item, you're fully responsible. And even machshava, even simply by deciding and planning to use it, and according to one pshat and Rashi, even the machshava, or he says even dibur, right? Dibur or machshava, dibur and even machshava, right? But actually, they bring another Rashi in Rav Metzia that dafka by amira, dafka by dibur, he has to actually express it verbally. I'm going to use this thing. So basically, it's a chiddush, even though he didn't actually use it. He thought about using it, or he spoke about it. He is not considered shaleach yad. No, only if he actually used it. Speaking, thinking, that's not sufficient. Right? So literally, shalach yad, that's what's needed. But what about the other part of the pasuk? I'll call dvar pesha. Simply verbalizing his intent is also enough to hold him responsible. What about the other pasuk? Indicating that he actually physically reached out and used it. So speaking is not enough. So, I understand that you hold that you have to actually physically reach out and touch it. So what about the other pasuk? I'll call Dvar Pesha. Seems to be a little bit of a repetition in the Girsa, but basically they were responding to each other's rayos, and Shami said to Beisil, look, I understand, it says in Shalach Yada, you have to actually reach out and touch it and use it, but what about the pasuk which sounds like it's just about speaking and verbalization? So the answer to that is, it's coming to include shlichus. So even by instruction, right? Even if you instruct somebody to do it for you, to go reach out and violate the terms of your agreement, go reach out and use the item, you're responsible. Sheyachal ein li elahu. So perhaps only if he personally got involved with the item. Amar la'avdoi, what if he asked somebody to do it, his eved or his shliach, go and use the car? Is he considered shaleach yad? Yes. In this case, the mishalech, the one who sent him, is responsible. I'll call dvar pesha. Verbalization, instructions are enough to make him liable. So we see that when it comes to shlichus yad, there is a concept of a shliach l'dvar avera. And who's speaking? That's Beis Hillel, right? Honich el Beis Hillel. That's according to Beis Hillel. El Beis Shammai. But according to Beis Shammai, Dumuk milei laikro b'machshava kemas, who used this pasuk of kol dvar pesha not for shlichus, rather to teach us their halach. The machshava is treated like masa when it comes to shleich yad. So now we don't have a pasuk by shlichus yad teaching us shliach l'dvar avera. We only have one pasuk by meila. So let that serve as a source for all over. Neilaf Mina. We don't have two psukim, we only have one. So Neilaf Mina. Answers the Gemara because we have somewhere else as well. We have another example of Shliach Dvar Avera. Mishum Dava Mila. Number one is Mila. And Tvicha Mechira. That's when a person steals an animal and then goes and Tvicha, he shechts it or he sells it. The pasuk says you have to pay 4 or 5 times as much, right? So when it comes to those activities, you can do it by way of a Shliach and you're responsible. So now we have 2 examples. Once again, Shnei Ksuvim Havam Ke'echad. We have Mila and the other item. What are the 2 items? Mila, right? So that's number 1, Hadamar, and as we explained. And Tvicha Mechira, Mayi, where do we find shlichus by those activities? And where's the source for that? Omakra, the pasuk says, either he did the shchita or he sold the stolen animal. We connect the 2 activities and we say, look, Ma Mechira de Achar, just like selling, can only be done in conjunction with another person, right? The Gana can only do his side of the deal. He can sell, but you need a customer on the other side of the deal. So the mechira is only accomplished by way of somebody else's involvement. Likewise, even if he did the shchita by way of somebody else, he has to sheikh to do it for him. The Ganav is responsible. That's one possible source. We have another source. The word oy, the extra word oy, is the rabbis. According to Dvei Chizkiah Tana, we have another source. Tachas, the pasuk says Tachas there, which is an extra pasuk. Tachas, the rabbi says Shaliach, that even if he did the shchita by way of a shliach, the ganav is fully responsible. So bottom line is we have 2 sources, one by Me'ila, one by Tvicha and Mechira, to the concept of shliach l'dvar avera, and therefore ein melamdin. Continue B'ez Hashem tomorrow. So bottom line is we have shlichus from Gerushin, from Kiddushin, from Truma, from Kachim. We learned about being Zachan Adam Shlei B'fanav. We learned about the power of Bezn. Even if there's some slight error, we let it stand. According to Rav Nachman, according to Shimon Gamliel, we have different variations of that halacha, and we learned about Shliach L'dvar Avera, which typically does not really hold water. You can't be responsible for something your Shliach did, even though you asked him to do so. But we have some exceptions, Me'ila, Tvicha and Mechira, and perhaps Shlichus Yad, depending on Beis Shammai or Beis Hillel. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.